Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks for sticking around for the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh. I'll be joined by Andrew Fillipponi in a matter of moments at the 93.7 The Fan Cam. And we're taking your phone calls tonight at 412-575-2600 is the number. A lot to talk about here tonight. The Buccos break out the bats again. 7-0 win over the Cardinals. 37 runs in the last 4 games. They've outscored opponents 37-4 in the last 4 games. Huge trade by the Steelers. They get Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith for Minkah Fitzpatrick. But maybe the biggest story of the day was Bob Pompiani's golf outing. You were there. He did a fantastic job again of raising a ton of money. I think it's $2 million in the 20 years he's been doing it. So kudos to Pomp.
Well, Richie, it's actually 34 years that he's been doing it. It's incredible what he's been able to do to help Partners for Quality, a really fantastic charity in town. And I thought the most shocking thing that happened out there today was Joey Porter and Chris Muller were on the same golf course together, and Chris was not threatened by Joey and did not get punched in the face. So I thought there was the potential for that given what happened at Jerome Bettis's charity golf tournament the last time those two guys were around each other. But thankfully at Bob's event, calmer heads, cooler heads prevailed, and there were no fireworks. The Steelers had fireworks. The Pirates have had so many offensive fireworks. I heard your Bucco fever is spiking.
It's starting to.
They're very afraid.
I don't know. I'm getting the feeling.
Oh, yes, it is. I think you are. You look flush.
Can we get them to single digits of under 500? They're at 14 games under 500 right now. Then I'll start to get the fever back. I'm excited. I wish they were doing this for a lot longer. It's only been 4 games, but hey, it's been impressive, and everyone's hitting in that lineup. Plus, I mean, not to mention, Andrew Heaney had a no-hitter going into the 6th inning. So another good game by your battling Buccos.
And they did it against the Mets, who came in on a horrible cold streak, but still was a first-place team when they got here. And the Cardinals have been good this year, 9 games over 500 starting this series. So they're not just feasting on tomato can teams. They're actually blowing out good teams at home. 2 stats with the Pirates. They had a winning record in June, 14-13, and they've got a winning home record this year. They've won 24 games at home. The Cubs, who are in first place, have won 25 games at Wrigley this year. So when you go to PNC Park, you usually see a win. The problem is, Richie, they've just been so god-awful on the road this year that they still have one of the worst records in baseball.
They've been god-awful at the plate, and we've seen it, and that's a big reason they have this record of 36-50 right now. If they got some run support earlier in the year, that maybe they would be close to 500. I don't know if I'm a believer yet. It was only
You're
4.
Not.
It's only 4 games.
You're
I don't think anyone is,
Don't
right?
Don't pretend. I was just pulling your chain. You're not a believer.
You got to spend some money and get some real bets. It's nice. Hitting is contagious. It's a good story right now. Hopefully they can keep it up and hover around this 500 mark right now. But they still got to go out and get a couple more bats for next season. The worst thing that could happen here, Pony, is they do this and they don't do anything. They don't add to this. And then you come in with that false sense of hope next year, and they do what they did this year.
Well, you know what's going to happen tomorrow night. All these runs, Paul Skeens will get 1 run and they'll lose 2-1 or something like that, because that's been his MO the whole year, where he can't get bailed out. He was not good in Milwaukee. He gave up those 4 runs. He was out of the game pretty quickly. So he is well rested. And you'd think with him going tomorrow, the Pirates have a very good chance of running their record, or their win streak rather, to 5 games, which would be a season high. But strange things happen offensively when Paul Skeens is on the mound for them. They very rarely score runs.
For me to actually believe that they're heading in the right direction, I think right now you need to see a winning streak of like 9 out of 11, 9 out of 12, something where you can hang your hat on.
Well, I think Donnie Kelly's in good shape. I think right now he's got a 500 record. I would say he's back for next year. The question is Ben Cherington. And Ben's going to have, it looks like, 2 more opportunities to impress the owner with the trade deadline and with the draft. And I would be stunned at this point. It's so close on both. I think he's going to make the call on both. And they're getting calls on their relievers. Teams want Bednar and Santana. So what do you do there? Those guys are very much in hot demand, in big demand. I think that they're going to end up trading Frazier and Pham for peanuts. They'll trade Heaney to somebody because he's on an expiring deal. But what will they do with guys that have some term left on their contract, like Bednar and Santana? That'll be probably, for me, the most interesting thing we see from the Pirates at the deadline. And I guess Keller, too. But my guess is they'll end up keeping Keller because teams are trying to lowball the Pirates, Richie. They know it's a big salary, and they think they can get him for next to nothing because the Pirates just want to shed the salary.
You know, everybody for me is available. The only, except for Paul Skeens, I don't want to trade O'Neal Cruz. Those are two guys that I would like to kind of build around for right now, if it's me, if I'm running this team. But I would listen for Keller. I try to get a bat for him. I would definitely trade Bednar and Santana and Heaney. Whatever you can get for Pham, I'll take. That's where I am right now. There's two guys. And I understand they said they don't want to trade McCutchen. I get that. That's fine. But I would try to trade everyone except for Paul Skeens and O'Neal Cruz right now and see if you can start building and moving in the right direction.
And Hayes had a really good month, as it turned out. I mean, there's not a lot of power there, but he drove in runs. And he obviously plays very good defense for the most part. So is there a team out there now that views him differently and wants to take on that contract? Probably not. But maybe you can sweeten the deal and make an offer and maybe include him in a trade with a guy, with a Bednar, with a Keller, to see if somebody takes that contract off your hands.
Hey, he was 1 for 4 today, but his one hit came at the right time in the 5th inning, helped his team win this game 7-0. All right, when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the big news of the day, the Steelers trading Minkah Fitzpatrick for Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. All that and more, and your phone calls coming up next. Stay right there.
In Pittsburgh, toughness isn't a trait, it's a tradition. And this city's always had a thing for defense with an edge. Now there's a new name stepping into the black and gold. Shutdown corner, relentless competitor. A walking chip on his shoulder with 4 wheels and no brakes. He talks loud, he hits harder. He didn't come to change what Pittsburgh stands for. He came to show he belongs in it. Steel sharpens steel, and the Steelers just got sharper.
All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. That's our Xfinity tweet of the night, and that's the big news of the night. That's from Jalen Ramsey. Broke his own news here with the trade. And, Pony, you know, I just want to get your assessment of this trade. I mean, I like it. I think it's kind of like the Joe Hayden move where I know they didn't trade for him. They picked him up before the start of the season, but he's a cornerback that still has some game left in him, I think. The only thing that worries me, you know how Mike Tomlin gets in awe of certain players, and this was one of the players that killed them with Jacksonville, like Miles Jack. But I still think the Steelers win in this deal. They give up a guy that hasn't made plays in the last 2 years, getting a shutdown corner, or a guy that could potentially move to the slot, and another huge tight end and target for Aaron Rodgers.
I would have traded Minkah Fitzpatrick straight up for Jalen Ramsey. So then you throw in Jonnu Smith, and it makes it an even better deal. Now, there are some things about Ramsey, Smith, and giving up Minkah Fitzpatrick that I don't think are great. You know, Ramsey, there's some discussion about how much the Steelers are actually paying him. It's at least $19 million. It might be closer to $22 million. That's a ton of money. So he's got to still be a great player at that price. Minkah, I thought, obviously had lost it a little bit. The turnovers weren't there. They changed his role on defense, just playing him so deep. And I think that was a sign by the Steelers that he was not the same player that he once was. Now, I still don't think they should have used him that way. So I think they've got some blame for the way that his career kind of went south here. So I think their secondary got better, but now they do have a hole at safety. And if you're going to just see, what I don't want them to do, Richie, is just play Jalen Ramsey at safety. Paying him $20 million to just play a new position, I think is a bad idea. I want him to defend not the Tylers. I want him to defend the Jamar Chases of the world, because I think he's the Steelers' best corner. I think he's better than Darius Slay and Joey Porter Jr. So that's how I would use him for this upcoming season and see where it goes. And I do think Jonnu Smith coming off a career year, we know how much Arthur Smith loves him. He'll have a nice role in this offense. Still don't have a number 2 wide receiver. And now you've got a safety problem, which I think Juan Thornhill will probably fill. And my God, was he terrible for the Browns when he was healthy. So it's a good trade, Richie, but it's not a great one, though. They're not better than the Ravens, and they're not better than the Bengals. They're still the 3rd best team in the AFC North.
But aren't they better than they were yesterday? And I'd rather have a safety problem than a quarterback problem.
That's why I said it's a good trade.
Right? Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
All right.
Yeah, they're better.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say they're better, but they've got to fill they've got a long way to go here. Okay, they're trying to catch Baltimore, who destroyed them in the playoff game. They're trying to catch Kansas City, who came here on Kansas City and embarrassed them. They're trying to keep up with those teams, and I still don't think they're close. They lost to Cincinnati in Week 18. All right, so I still think that there's a long way for them to go to catch those teams.
All right,
I still am not picking them to win a playoff game.
We want to get your opinion. You can scan the QR code in the right-hand corner of your screen. Are you happy with the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade? It seems like it's split right now, 45%, 55% right now. Let's go out to Ken in Verona. How you doing, Ken?
Hello.
Hey, you're on the air.
Hello.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you call my name.
Yep.
Hey, I'm Ken.
Yep.
I'm from Verona. I just want to make a point that was a pretty decent trade today. It wasn't the greatest trade in the world, but I thought it was decent. But when it comes right down to it, they've got to sign T.J. Watt. They can play all these other plays, and they can make all these other trades, but if you don't sign that man, I don't really think it's going to make a difference who you bring in.
Ken, I appreciate the call. I mean, look, I'm split on this, Pony. I don't know where you stand. I know we've talked about it a bunch, but where you stand right now, I would be fielding phone calls to see what I could get for T.J. Watt.
Well, Adam Schefter made it sound like teams are going to call them and that they haven't wanted to do it yet, but we know that Watt's unhappy. I mean, the more I think about that tweet, is that like kind of an indirect way for Watt to say he wants traded? Is that Watt's agent trying to go to Schefter and say, hey, can you put this out there so teams start to call the Steelers to get my client out of there? I don't know. That's a theory I have now that just popped into my head. That maybe he wants to get T.J. Watt to a team that will absolutely give him that money. Because maybe he's now thinking the Steelers won't, which surprises me. Because I think what we heard from Art Rooney is still going to end up being what happens, the one-helmet guy approach. And not wanting T.J. Watt to go play for somebody else. But at least from T.J. Watt's perspective right now, Richie, they're playing hardball with him. And he probably thought that this would not be a very protracted or complicated negotiation. And it looks like it is.
Yeah, I mean, from what I was told when I was at the Steelers during minicamp, it sounds like that they're not too worried. They think that they're going to get something done. But I would, like I said before, I'd field some phone calls, see what you get for him. If you can get a high draft pick. I don't know if I'd want a player in return, but I definitely would want some draft capital for next year, potentially trying to get that quarterback of the future. Let's go out to Lou in North Strabane. How you doing, Lou?
Hey, Rich, how's it going?
Hey.
A former coworker of yours, and just shout out to folks there. Great team there. I hate to pivot here a little bit from just a big Steelers news day, but Pony, back to you, a big Mets fan. What would you think Keller being in a trade with the Mets? This coming trade deadline, what do you think it would take, and do you think that would be a good fit after this disastrous weekend we had here in Pittsburgh?
Hey, Pony, have you heard that rumor? I mean, are the Mets interested in Keller?
I heard they want to bring Severino back, who went to the A's, and obviously they're not good, and it's a big money deal. Look, the Mets have almost $400 million out to players in the big $700 million contract to Soto. So, Keller's not making huge money, but they re-signed Sean Manaea this offseason. They went out and brought Clay Holmes in. So, I don't know. I don't think that they are going to trade for a guy who has multiple years left on his contract at $15 million or more a year. So, look, they've got the richest owner in the sport. Maybe he'll get desperate and he'll ask his GM to do it, but my guess would be that doesn't happen because I don't think they want to give up big prospects is the other thing, Richie. I think if they went for Keller, they would just try to get the salary and say, well, we're taking on the contract, so we're not going to give you much back. I think they'd try to spin it as a salary dump deal. And I don't think the Pirates want to just give Mitch Keller away.
I mean, I think it's a favorable contract. I mean, how many guys can you really, how many good quality pitchers, maybe a number 2 pitcher, can you get for $15 million a year nowadays?
Well, he's not. I don't think he's a number 2 starter.
You don't?
I mean, he's had a lot. No, he's had a lot of quality starts. His ERA is close to 4. The major league average for starting pitcher ERA is just above 4. So I think. Well, here's the other thing too, Richie. The last 2 years, he has been awful in the second half of the season. So that's the other thing that would scare me as a team that's trying to trade for him. You get Mitch Keller, and July, August, and September has been a disaster for him for 2 straight years. And why is that? Is it a fatigue thing? Why is he breaking down? Why isn't he as effective? So that's another thing I would be mindful of if I'm the Cubs or one of these teams that's been linked to Mitch Keller. You know, why is he such a Jekyll and Hyde pitcher where he's much better in the first half of the season than he is the second half of the year?
Pony, it might be the atmosphere. He's on a losing team. Like, what does he really have to play for? I understand money and contracts.
Well, hold on, though. They bought at the trade deadline last year. They weren't bad the whole year last season. You know, the whole team collapsed over the final 2 months, but they didn't go into the second half of last season thinking they were going to stink. They had a winning record. You know, they had gotten Paul Skeens up from AAA. So 2 years ago, I think that was, well, I mean, even then they got off to a hot start.
Yeah.
2 years ago in April and May.
But they faded at the end. All right, we got to fade to break.
Yes, they did.
Back in a couple minutes. Welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Rich Walsh. Now it's time to turn things over to Ken Rice to find out what's coming up on KDKA News at 11. Ken?
Yeah, Rich, the Steelers are the big story for us, too. We're finding out how fans are feeling about today's trade and about T.J. Watt. Plus, police searching for a shooter in Homestead. What we've learned about an incident outside a gas station there this afternoon. All coming up right here at 11.
All right, thanks a lot, Ken. See you in a couple minutes. Pony, we only have about 30 seconds. I don't think that they trade T.J. Watt. I think something gets done.
Well, I think so too, but I'm not 100% positive here.
Okay.
You know, the fact that Watt is openly expressing how unhappy he is or letting that leak, that's not what happened last time around, where he was letting people know that he's ticked off. Plus, he put out that Instagram post with the 2 fingers up in the air.
Peace.
I don't know, Richie. They've done crazy things. Maybe another big bombshell is going to happen.
All right, thanks a lot, Pony. We're going to peace out right now. Hopefully
you,
make the switch over to KDK News right now.